The world teaches you to fear the obvious: loud confrontations, visible enemies, clear disasters. But that's misdirection. The real danger never announces itself. It doesn't kick down your door or declare war. It sits beside you at dinner. It welcomes you with warm conversation. It feels like belonging. And while you think you're safe, it's quietly dismantling everything you could have become. Most men spend their entire lives running from imaginary threats while walking voluntarily into the rooms that will actually destroy them. These spaces don't look threatening. They look normal, familiar. Sometimes they even look like progress. But what they really are is sophisticated machinery designed to make you accept a smaller existence. And the brilliance of these traps is that you defend them. You call them home. You call them loyalty. You call them being realistic. Machiavelli understood something that still escapes most people today. A man's downfall rarely comes from direct assault. It comes from the slow erosion of his standards. It comes from spending too much time in environments that normalize mediocrity. It comes from trusting comfort more than growth. The enemy isn't usually trying to hurt you. The enemy is offering you a place to rest. And rest, when chosen at the wrong time, becomes paralysis. You think you're just being social, just maintaining relationships, just staying grounded. But every hour spent in the wrong environment is an hour of training. Training to expect less. Training to justify stagnation. Training to believe that your current level is your natural ceiling. These places don't announce what they're doing to you. They operate through repetition, through social pressure, through the subtle adjustment of your internal standards, until ambition itself starts to feel uncomfortable. There are specific environments that function this way. 7 of them, to be precise. And if you continue occupying these spaces, your future doesn't collapse dramatically. It just quietly shrinks. First, you feel slightly more tired than usual. Then you start second-guessing decisions you would have made confidently before. Then you find yourself working less intensely. You tell yourself it's temporary. You tell yourself you'll get serious again soon. But soon never arrives, because these environments are architecturally designed to make decline feel reasonable. They don't steal your time with force. They borrow it with permission. They don't attack your focus. They gently redirect it. They don't crush your courage. They gradually replace it with caution that sounds like wisdom. And they accomplish all of this while making you feel accepted, understood, and safe. In these rooms, growth is never demanded. Compliance is rewarded. Real feedback is replaced with validation. Strength is exchanged for agreeableness, and everyone treats this transaction like friendship. The most dangerous aspect is how well these places learn you. They study your insecurities. They identify your triggers. They memorize what makes you feel guilty or selfish or ungrateful. So when you finally attempt to change, when you finally try to leave, they know exactly which emotional lever to pull. One joke, one shared memory, one moment of, "Remember when we used to?" That's all it takes to pull you back into the pattern. This is how powerful men get neutralized. Not through confrontation, through comfort. Not through opposition, through belonging. Machiavelli's warning echoes across centuries because the trap hasn't changed. If your environment silences your hunger, it's not protecting you. It's containing you. And if you keep returning to containers, you will eventually wake up older, financially stagnant, and filled with a specific kind of regret. The regret of knowing you had more in you, but somehow never accessed it. Your fire didn't disappear. It was systematically drained through 1,000 small compromises, disguised as normal social interaction. Before we examine these 7 spaces, let's establish clarity. This isn't about external circumstances. This isn't about bad timing or insufficient intelligence. This is about environment. about location, about where you physically and mentally position yourself. Every space you occupy is actively shaping you, even during moments when you think nothing significant is happening. Some environments sharpen you. Others gradually dull your edge until you forget what sharpness feels like. The 7 places I'm about to reveal aren't dramatic. They won't seem dangerous. They don't post warning signs. They appear normal, social, sometimes even beneficial. That's precisely why most people remain trapped in them. Each functions through a different mechanism, but all produce the same outcome: a life significantly smaller than your actual capacity. These spaces drain ambition, distort priorities, and teach you to accept limitations that were never real. And once you've inhabited them long enough, you begin defending them. You say it's not that bad. At least I'm not alone. This is just reality. That's the sound of the cage locking. As we move through these 7 locations, don't think about strangers. Think about where you actually sit, where you actually speak, where you actually relax, where you feel most comfortable. Because comfort is the disguise. If a place makes you feel secure while keeping you stationary, it's not sanctuary. It's predation. The first place is the easiest to enter, the hardest to exit, and the fastest killer of ambition. I call it the sympathy circle. This is where people congregate to complain, vent, and validate each other's suffering. It might be a group chat, a regular lunch gathering, a bar after work, family dinners where problems are discussed but never solved. Everyone shares stories about how difficult life is, how unfair their boss is, how broken the system is, how unlucky they've been. Initially, it feels therapeutic. You feel heard. You feel understood. Someone finally gets it. But that feeling is the bait. Nothing constructive happens here. No strategies are developed. No real actions are taken. The only thing that multiplies is weakness. Every time you engage in complaint within this circle, you're conditioning your mind to seek comfort instead of solutions. The people listening aren't helping you advance. They're simply relieved that you're struggling too, because it normalizes their own stagnation. In this environment, effort becomes something to mock. Dreams become something to laugh at. Ambition becomes socially awkward. If you mention wanting more, the atmosphere shifts, so you learn to compress yourself to maintain belonging. This is where goals die, not from direct attack, from neglect, from being in a room where aspiration is treated like arrogance. The sympathy circle doesn't challenge you to improve. It teaches you how to remain stuck while calling it authenticity. Here's what makes the sympathy circle particularly insidious. It mimics support. It feels like people care. But once you recognize it and try to leave, the next trap becomes visible. And it's more sophisticated because it masquerades as success. Some men exit the complaint room and think they've evolved. Good, I'm done with weak people. Then they walk directly into a room full of impressive individuals and believe they've arrived. Nice suits, big smiles, expensive dinners, conversations about significant deals. It feels like you've finally been invited to the upper level. But Machiavelli would warn you to be cautious, because there are rooms where you're permitted to sit, but not permitted to matter. And that kind of trap can destroy your drive even faster, because it makes you feel accomplished while you're still powerless. The second dangerous place is the table of unearned respect. This is where you sit near people with actual power, wealth, or influence, but you don't possess any of your own yet. They include you in conversations. They laugh at your jokes. They invite you to events. You start to believe you're operating at their level simply because you're in proximity. But examine it closely. You're not making decisions. You're not leading anything. You're listening and agreeing. They enjoy your presence because it reinforces their status. You enjoy being there because it makes you feel significant. That's the exchange. The problem is, this environment kills hunger. Instead of working harder to build your own foundation, you start mimicking the appearance, the clothes, the vocabulary, the mannerisms, acting like you've already won. But nothing in your actual life has changed. Your skills haven't expanded. Your resources haven't grown. Your results haven't improved. You're surviving on borrowed status, and borrowed status evaporates the moment you stop being entertaining or useful. This place transforms strong potential into a well-trained observer. You feel close to success, so you stop actively pursuing it. And that's how men spend years sitting at tables they don't own, waiting for opportunities that never materialize. Now we arrive at a trap that feels even better, because here you're not the quiet one. You're the star. The third dangerous place is being the dominant presence in a weak environment. This is the room where everyone looks up to you. You're the most intelligent, the most driven, the most successful, at least compared to them. People seek your advice. They praise your decisions. They tell you how far you've come. And gradually, you start believing your own mythology. But this environment is poison. No one challenges you here. No one pushes you beyond your current capacity. No one forces evolution. The room rewards you for remaining exactly as you are. And while you're enjoying admiration, the world outside continues advancing without you. Real development comes from being around people who make you uncomfortable, not people who applaud you. When you remain the top performer in a weak room, your competitive edge deteriorates. You feel powerful, but you're actually falling behind. This is how men confuse being praised with being prepared. And when they eventually step into a larger arena, they discover they've grown soft. So now you've seen both sides of the same mechanism. One place makes you feel small but accepted. The other makes you feel important without requiring achievement. One turns you into a background character. The other turns you into a local celebrity who never leaves town. Both keep you trapped. One feeds on insecurity. The other feeds on ego. And if those don't stop you, there's a darker place waiting. One that doesn't care about your feelings at all. This next environment doesn't flatter you or comfort you. It drains you systematically, until one day you look around and realize you've been pouring your time, energy, and life into something that stopped functioning long ago. The fourth dangerous place is remaining attached to what no longer works. It could be a relationship, a business model, a group of people you've outgrown. You know it's finished, but you stay because you've already invested so much. Years of effort, so much hope, so much time. Walking away feels like admitting failure. So you tell yourself to try harder. But this place isn't about building a future. It's about clinging to the past. Every day you remain, you lose a bit more vitality because all your energy flows into repairing what cannot be repaired. You start reacting instead of creating. You start explaining instead of progressing. This trap steals your most productive years by convincing you that quitting is worse than suffering. But the reality is, time already spent is gone forever. It doesn't return because you remained loyal to a dead situation. Strong people know when to persist, but powerful people know when to release. If an environment keeps extracting from you without returning anything of value, it's not a challenge. It's a drain. And the longer you stay, the harder it becomes to remember who you were supposed to become. The fifth dangerous place is the stage of false status. This is where you perform a life you haven't actually built yet, solely to impress people who don't genuinely care about you. It's the environment where appearing successful matters more than being successful. The expensive outings you can barely afford. The luxury brands you finance to maintain image. The lifestyle you sustain through stress because you're terrified of losing your position. Everyone is smiling, posting, performing. But behind the facade, they're exhausted, anxious, and sinking. This place traps you in performance mode. You spend beyond your means, not because it serves your future, but because you're afraid of exposure. You stop making strategic moves and start making protective ones because one mistake could reveal the truth. Instead of building something real, you're defending an illusion. And illusions are fragile. One bad month and everything cracks. This environment doesn't just drain your money, it drains your courage. You become careful, tense, unable to step back and rebuild properly. And that fear keeps you locked in a life that looks impressive from the outside, but is quietly collapsing internally. The sixth dangerous place is the middle ground. The space where you try to keep everyone satisfied and never fully commit to a position. This is the room where you stay silent during conflict, agree with everyone partially, and avoid stating what you actually think because you don't want problems. It feels safe, but it isn't. When you stand in the middle, no one truly trusts you. The people with power don't respect you. The people without power don't follow you. You become invisible. Opportunities pass you by because no one knows where you stand or what you represent. You think neutrality keeps options open, but it actually closes the important doors. Strong people choose a direction and accept the consequences. Weak systems reward silence, but real progress doesn't. This place slowly erases your identity because you're constantly adjusting yourself to fit the room. Over time, you forget what you actually believe. And when pressure finally arrives, you have no foundation to stand on. The middle feels calm, but it's where momentum dies. The seventh dangerous place is the ghost of your origin. The people in spaces that only know the old version of you and refuse to let you evolve. Old friends, certain family members, anyone who keeps pulling you back to who you used to be. They remind you of past mistakes. They joke about your dreams. They treat your new goals like you're pretending to be better than everyone. They may not hate you, but they don't want you to change because your growth makes them feel stuck. So they use memories as weapons. They call you by old names. They bring up old stories. They try to make you small again, so they can feel comfortable. This place is dangerous because it attacks your future, using your own history. And if you keep returning for approval, you'll keep shrinking yourself to fit their outdated image of you. Sometimes the price of becoming stronger is that you stop being familiar to people who preferred you weak. If you want a new life, you cannot keep living in old rooms. Now you see the architecture. None of these places attack immediately. They don't announce danger. They invite you in, make you comfortable, and slowly extract pieces of you until there's nothing significant left. They steal time, soften your edge, and teach you to accept less than your capacity. From now on, every place you enter matters. Every room is either pushing you forward or quietly holding you back. There's no neutral anymore. If a place doesn't challenge you, it's containing you. And once you see this, you cannot unsee it. If this shifted something in you, don't ignore that sensation. That's awareness activating. Like this video so you remember this moment. Subscribe so you don't drift back into comfort unconsciously. And if you're serious about building a stronger life, move closer to people and ideas that challenge you instead of calming you. The world is filled with traps disguised as safe spaces. Now you know where they are. What you do next determines everything.